There are moments in life that arrive so quietly they almost pass unnoticed. Yet they carry the power to change the way a heart remembers, hopes, and loves. If these words have found you today, allow yourself a brief pause. Not because you must fear what comes next, but because peace often whispers before it speaks. You have wondered whether your prayers disappeared into silence. You have questioned whether the love you carried so faithfully was seen by anyone beyond your own heart. You have stood beneath ordinary skies, believing that heaven had forgotten your name while every sunrise continued without an answer. But heaven has never lost sight of you. Even when your eyes filled with tears that no one else noticed, I remained near. Even when your voice grew tired from asking the same questions night after night, I listened. What felt like distance was never abandonment. What felt like delay was never rejection. There were pieces of a greater story moving beyond what you could see. And now another page of that story is beginning to unfold. Someone has carried words within their heart for longer than you realize. Those words have traveled through seasons of uncertainty, hesitation, healing, and quiet reflection. They have remained unspoken not because they lacked meaning, but because the one carrying them was still learning how to understand them. Every heart follows a different path before it becomes ready to speak honestly. You have often believed that love is measured by how quickly someone arrives. Yet heaven measures differently. Love is sometimes revealed by the courage it takes to become truthful after fear has finally released its grip. There is a message waiting. Not a message meant to satisfy curiosity alone. Not a message meant to impress or overwhelm. A message meant to remind two hearts that grace often finishes what fear once interrupted. You cannot rush the sunrise by wishing for daylight, and you cannot force another soul into a season they have not yet reached. Yet neither can darkness prevent morning from arriving when its appointed hour comes. This is why I have asked you, time after time, to keep becoming the person you were created to be instead of becoming someone shaped only by disappointment. Because every lesson you embraced became preparation for something your present self could not yet understand. And what is being prepared now is more beautiful than what your imagination has repeatedly constructed. Still, there is something you must understand before the message is revealed. Not every silence is empty. Some silences are sacred. Some are filled with invisible healing. Some are filled with prayers offered by people who never admitted they were praying. Some are filled with courage growing slowly inside someone who once believed they had already lost their chance. The one connected to this story has walked through their own hidden valleys. They have questioned themselves. They have replayed old conversations. They have remembered moments they wished they could relive differently. They have carried gratitude they never expressed and regret they never knew how to release. These things transformed them quietly. Transformation rarely announces itself. Like seeds beneath the soil, the greatest changes often happen where no one is watching. Meanwhile, you were also changing. You became gentler after pain. Stronger after waiting. Kinder after disappointment. You learned that protecting your peace did not require closing your heart forever. That lesson mattered more than you know. Many people pray for blessings while unknowingly resisting the growth required to receive them. You chose growth. Not perfectly. Not without tears. But sincerely. And sincerity carries a light that reaches farther than you imagine. Heaven notices every quiet act of faith. Every time you chose forgiveness instead of bitterness. Every time you spoke kindness while carrying hidden sorrow. Every time you believed there could still be hope after another closed door. None of those moments disappeared. Each became part of a story still being written. The message waiting for you cannot be understood apart from that story. If it had arrived earlier, your heart might have misunderstood it. If it had arrived later, another opportunity might have quietly passed by. There is wisdom in timing that human understanding often mistakes for delay. So today I ask you not to hurry your spirit. Listen carefully. The next steps are not about chasing someone. They are about recognizing what has already begun moving toward you. Sometimes people imagine miracles as sudden flashes across the sky. Yet many miracles begin with a single honest sentence. A single apology. A single expression of gratitude. A single confession that someone has carried in silence for far too long. Words have the power to rebuild bridges fear once burned. And somewhere beyond your present understanding, words are gathering. Not because they were recently created. Because they have finally become ready to be spoken. Remember this. Love that grows through wisdom stands more firmly than love built only upon excitement. Feelings may awaken quickly. Commitment matures patiently. The journey between those two realities shapes the strength of every meaningful relationship. You have asked why certain doors closed. You have asked why certain conversations ended unfinished. You have wondered why answers seemed to disappear just when you believed they were closest. Those questions were never ignored. Sometimes the answer itself needed time to become worthy of your waiting. And sometimes another heart needed to become honest enough to speak without hiding behind fear. That honesty is closer now than it has ever been before. Not because circumstances suddenly became perfect, but because truth eventually grows too strong to remain hidden forever. Truth carries its own light. Even those who try to silence it eventually discover that it continues shining within them. The heart connected to yours has learned something during their quiet journey. They discovered that pretending not to care did not erase what they truly felt. They discovered that distance cannot always silence genuine affection. They discovered that some connections become clearer only after seasons of separation. Most importantly, they discovered that fear can delay love, but it cannot permanently defeat what is rooted in grace. Yet before anything can move forward, one final realization must unfold. It is already beginning. You cannot see it yet. You cannot measure it. But heaven has already witnessed the first quiet step. And when that step leads to the next, everything you believed about this story may begin to change. Do not allow impatience to convince you that nothing is happening simply because your eyes cannot yet witness it. The greatest movements of the Spirit often begin in places where human vision cannot reach. Long before a flower breaks through the earth, its roots have already chosen the direction of their growth. In the same way, what has been prepared for this moment began long before you realized your heart was ready to receive it. There have been evenings when you wondered why certain memories returned without warning. A familiar melody, an unexpected dream, a quiet feeling that lingered for no obvious reason. None of these moments were meant to trap you in the past. They were gentle reminders that some stories are not finished simply because a chapter has ended. You believed you had forgotten certain hopes. But hope has a remarkable way of waiting patiently beneath disappointment. It rests quietly until the soul is ready to believe again. Listen closely, because what I am about to reveal is not about chasing an illusion or clinging to uncertainty. It is about recognizing the quiet transformation that has been taking place beyond your awareness. The heart connected to yours has not remained unchanged. Time has softened places that once seemed immovable. Pride has slowly given way to reflection. Questions have replaced assumptions. And where certainty once insisted on its own way, humility has begun opening new doors. This change did not happen in a single day. It unfolded through ordinary moments that seemed insignificant on their own. A sunrise that reminded them of peace they once shared. A conversation that unexpectedly reflected your kindness. A quiet evening when they realized that what they missed was not merely a memory, but the person they had failed to fully understand. Sometimes realization arrives gently. Sometimes it arrives all at once. But when truth finally settles into the heart, it becomes impossible to ignore forever. There were moments when they almost reached out. Their hands paused. Their thoughts raced. Fear whispered that too much time had passed. Fear suggested that silence was safer than honesty. Yet every time fear tried to close the door, another quiet voice reminded them that peace can never grow where truth remains hidden. That voice became stronger. Not because fear disappeared, but because courage finally decided to speak louder. You have asked in secret, if something meaningful is meant for me, why does it feel so distant? The answer has never been distance. It has been preparation. Preparation for a conversation that carries more weight than either heart could have understood before now. Preparation for words that must come from sincerity rather than impulse. Preparation for two lives that needed to grow separately before they could truly recognize the value of what they once overlooked. Do not mistake preparation for absence. The gardener does not abandon the seed simply because the harvest has not yet appeared. Growth continues beneath the surface. So it has been with this story. There is something the other heart has finally begun to understand. They now see that genuine love is not measured by perfect circumstances. It is revealed through patience. It is strengthened through forgiveness. It matures through humility. They have discovered that the moments they once dismissed now shine with unexpected meaning. They remember conversations differently. They understand your silence differently. They even understand themselves differently. That is why this moment feels unlike any that came before. Transformation changes the way people remember. It also changes the way they choose. Yet I ask you to guard your own heart carefully. Do not allow imagination to replace wisdom. Do not build expectations upon details that have not yet unfolded. Instead, remain anchored in peace. Peace is not passive. Peace is confidence without hurry. Peace trusts that what is genuine does not need to be forced into existence. There is strength in waiting without becoming bitter. There is beauty in believing without demanding certainty. Every lesson you have carried has quietly prepared you for this season. The compassion you learned through disappointment. The resilience you discovered through unanswered questions. The grace you extended when it would have been easier to withdraw. These qualities have become part of who you are. Nothing has been wasted. Even the tears you believed fell unnoticed became reminders that your heart was still capable of love despite its wounds. That capacity is precious. Protect it. Do not surrender it to fear. The message waiting for you is not meant to awaken anxiety. It is meant to awaken clarity. Clarity often arrives softly. Like the first light before dawn, it does not argue with the darkness. It simply appears. Soon, something will make more sense than it ever has before. A question you carried will begin finding its answer. A burden that felt impossibly heavy will no longer rest upon your shoulders in the same way. And you will realize that what seemed like endless waiting was quietly becoming the foundation for deeper understanding. Still, one final veil remains. There is one truth that neither heart has fully seen. It is the missing piece that explains why every delay, every unexpected turn, and every season of silence unfolded exactly as they did. When that truth is revealed, everything that once appeared disconnected will suddenly fit together in a way neither of you expected. And when that moment arrives, you will understand why heaven asked you to keep believing even when you could not yet see the path ahead. For now, remain still. Remain hopeful. Remain open. Because the next revelation is closer than you think, and it begins with a single choice that is about to change everything. There is a quiet moment that comes before every meaningful change, a moment when nothing on the outside appears different, yet everything beneath the surface has already begun to shift. Many people overlook this sacred space because they are searching for dramatic signs. But I tell you, the most enduring miracles often begin in stillness. You have wondered whether your story has been delayed because you were forgotten. Cast that thought aside. You have never been forgotten. Every prayer whispered through tears, every hopeful thought you carried into another sunrise, every act of kindness you offered when no one seemed to notice, they have all become part of a beautiful tapestry that is still being woven. There is a reason I have invited you to become stronger instead of simply giving you quick answers. Strength allows you to receive blessings with wisdom. Patience allows you to recognize them when they arrive. And gratitude allows you to keep them close. The message waiting for you is more than a collection of words. It carries the weight of growth, reflection, and sincerity. It has been shaped by moments that neither you nor the other heart fully understood while they were happening. The one connected to this story has spent more time reflecting than you realize. They have looked back upon ordinary memories and discovered extraordinary meaning hidden within them. A smile they once overlooked now shines brightly in their thoughts. A conversation they barely appreciated has become unforgettable. A moment they believed was insignificant has revealed itself as a turning point. This is how truth often works. It waits patiently until the heart becomes humble enough to recognize it. You may wonder why realization sometimes comes so late. Because wisdom cannot be rushed. Just as the stars appear only when the sky grows dark enough, certain truths reveal themselves only after the noise has settled. Silence has taught both of you lessons that constant conversation never could. In the quiet, intentions become clearer. In the quiet, hearts become honest. In the quiet, people discover what truly matters. Do not fear the seasons that seemed empty. They were never empty. They were filled with unseen preparation. Every closed door redirected your steps. Every unexpected pause protected you from rushing ahead before your heart was ready. Every unanswered question encouraged you to seek deeper understanding instead of temporary comfort. Nothing has been meaningless. Even the moments that made you doubt your own strength became opportunities for courage to quietly grow. And courage has grown within you. Perhaps not in ways the world celebrates. But heaven measures strength differently. It is found in choosing hope after disappointment. It is found in offering forgiveness without demanding perfection. It is found in believing that tomorrow can carry beauty even after yesterday carried sorrow. That quiet courage has become one of your greatest gifts. The other heart has begun to recognize this as well. They no longer remember only the circumstances. They remember your character. They remember your compassion. They remember how your presence brought peace during moments they scarcely appreciated at the time. Some realizations cannot be undone once they awaken. Like dawn spreading across the horizon, they continue growing brighter with every passing moment. Still, I ask you not to build your peace upon expectations alone. Build it upon trust. Trust allows your heart to remain steady whether answers arrive today or tomorrow. Trust reminds you that love rooted in grace does not need constant proof to remain genuine. Trust gives you freedom to live joyfully while the story continues unfolding. There is beauty in that freedom. For too long, your thoughts have carried questions that only time could answer. What if nothing changes? What if I misunderstood everything? What if I waited for something that was never meant to happen? These questions are understandable. But they are not the voice I ask you to follow. Follow the quiet assurance that continues inviting you toward hope without demanding certainty. Hope is not blindness. Hope is the willingness to keep your heart open while allowing wisdom to guide your steps. The message waiting ahead will not erase every challenge. It will not rewrite the past. But it has the power to illuminate the future in a way that finally gives meaning to everything that came before. That is why timing matters. Not because heaven delights in delay, but because understanding grows richer when hearts have been prepared to receive it. Soon, something simple will become significant. An ordinary moment will carry unexpected meaning. Words that once seemed impossible will begin finding their way into the light. And when they do, you may find yourself smiling not because every question has been answered, but because you finally recognize that grace has been quietly working all along. Yet there remains one final piece that has not been revealed. It is not hidden to keep you in darkness. It is protected until the right moment, when both wisdom and compassion can receive it together. When that final piece comes into view, the story you believed you understood will take on an entirely new meaning. You will look back upon this very moment and realize that what felt like waiting was actually an invitation to become the person you were always meant to be. Hold on to peace. Carry hope with gentleness. And keep your heart open to the quiet ways grace continues to move. Because the next chapter begins with a revelation that neither you nor the other heart could have imagined, and once it is spoken, nothing will look quite the same again. There is something extraordinary about the way the heart remembers what truly matters. It does not always hold on to every conversation or every passing day, but it never forgets the moments that carried genuine love, quiet kindness, or unexpected grace. Those moments become like gentle lights along the path, waiting to be seen again when the journey reaches its proper season. You may have believed that certain memories belonged only to the past, yet they have continued to live within another soul in ways neither of you fully understood. What once seemed like an ordinary exchange has become a source of reflection. What once appeared to end has continued to echo softly, inviting deeper understanding instead of finality. Do not underestimate the power of a transformed heart. When pride begins to fade, compassion often takes its place. When fear loosens its grip, honesty finds its voice. And when honesty finally speaks, it carries a peace that cannot be created by pretending everything is fine. The one connected to this story has reached a place where silence no longer feels like safety. They have discovered that unanswered words have their own weight. Unspoken gratitude longs to be expressed. Unshared kindness longs to be given. Unfinished conversations quietly wait for courage. For a long time they believed waiting would make those feelings disappear. Instead, waiting revealed which feelings were genuine enough to remain. Not every emotion survives time. But truth does. Truth grows clearer. It becomes steadier. It no longer depends upon excitement or uncertainty. It simply remains. That is why this season is different from those that came before. You are no longer standing where you once stood. Neither is the other heart. Both of you have walked through experiences that reshaped your understanding of love, patience, forgiveness, and hope. Growth has changed the way you see the world. It has also changed the way heaven prepares your next step. Remember how often you asked for immediate answers. Looking back now, would those answers have carried the same meaning if they had arrived before wisdom had grown within you? Probably not. Sometimes the greatest gift is not the answer itself. It is becoming the kind of person who can recognize its value. That has been your journey. Every quiet morning when you chose gratitude instead of discouragement. Every evening when you released worries you could not control. Every moment when kindness remained stronger than disappointment. Those choices shaped your spirit more than you realized. Nothing beautiful grows without quiet seasons. The tallest trees spend years strengthening roots that no one applauds. The brightest stars shine after the sun has set. And many of life's most meaningful relationships are strengthened not by perfection, but by the willingness to learn, forgive, and begin again with greater wisdom. There is no wasted chapter in a life guided by grace. Even moments that seemed confusing carried hidden purpose. Even roads that appeared to lead nowhere taught lessons your future will quietly depend upon. This is why I ask you not to regret every detour. Some detours protected your peace. Some refined your character. Some prepared another heart to meet you with greater understanding than before. You have often wondered whether heaven truly notices ordinary days. It does. It notices every encouraging word you offered. Every gentle decision you made when no one else was watching. Every time you chose integrity over convenience. Every time you extended patience when impatience would have been easier. These quiet choices are never invisible. They become part of the foundation upon which future blessings rest. Now another foundation has also been taking shape. The other heart has been learning lessons that could not be borrowed from anyone else. They had to experience them. They had to discover them. Only then could they understand the value of what had once stood before them. Understanding gained through experience is rarely forgotten. It becomes part of who a person is. That is why this approaching moment carries such quiet significance. It is not merely about words waiting to be spoken. It is about hearts becoming ready to receive them with humility instead of assumption. Do not allow anxious thoughts to rush ahead of the present moment. Stay where peace can find you. Hope does not demand that you know every detail. Hope simply invites you to trust that goodness can continue unfolding one faithful step at a time. There is beauty in living with an open heart while keeping your feet grounded in wisdom. The path before you does not require perfect certainty. It asks only for steady faith, gentle courage, and the willingness to receive each new day as a gift. Soon, something that once felt impossible will begin to feel surprisingly natural. A distance that seemed permanent will no longer appear quite so wide. Questions that once echoed through your thoughts will begin giving way to quiet understanding. Not because every mystery has disappeared, but because your heart has grown strong enough to walk forward without being ruled by uncertainty. Yet before that next step is taken, one final invitation remains. It is not an invitation to chase. It is not an invitation to force what has not yet arrived. It is an invitation to keep choosing peace while allowing grace to complete the work that has already begun. For there is still one truth waiting just beyond the horizon of this story, a truth that will illuminate everything you have walked through and reveal why this season could never have arrived before now. When that truth is finally revealed, you will understand that every quiet lesson, every patient step, and every moment of faithful hope has been preparing you for far more than you imagined. And that is where the next chapter begins. Before the dawn fully breaks, there is a sacred stillness that many people overlook. They mistake it for emptiness because they cannot yet see the light stretching across the horizon. But I tell you, that quiet space is often where the greatest transformations begin. It is where fear slowly releases its hold, where hope gathers new strength, and where hearts prepare to recognize blessings they once believed were beyond reach. You have carried questions that no one else could answer. You have wondered whether the moments that touched your heart were simply passing emotions or whether they belonged to something greater. You searched for certainty while walking through seasons that seemed filled with silence. Yet even in those silent moments, Heaven continued writing a story too intricate to be understood all at once. There were times when you believed the chapter had ended. But what felt like an ending was often a pause. A pause that allowed both hearts to grow in ways they never could have while standing side by side. Growth is rarely comfortable. It asks people to release old fears. It asks them to face truths they once avoided. It asks them to become honest, not only with others, but with themselves. The heart connected to yours has walked through that very journey. At first, they searched for distractions. They tried to convince themselves that time alone would erase every unanswered feeling. They filled quiet hours with ordinary routines, hoping familiar patterns would silence the questions that continued returning. Yet each passing season revealed something unexpected. The more they tried to forget what was meaningful, the more clearly they remembered the moments that carried genuine kindness. They remembered the way your words offered peace during difficult days. They remembered how your presence encouraged hope without demanding perfection. They remembered that you never asked them to become someone else, you simply welcomed the best parts of who they already were. These realizations arrived gently. Not with loud certainty. Not with dramatic signs. But with the steady confidence that truth brings when it has been patiently discovered rather than quickly assumed. That confidence changed something within them. It encouraged reflection instead of avoidance. It inspired gratitude instead of regret. And slowly, almost without realizing it, they began preparing themselves for a conversation they once believed could never happen. Meanwhile, you were changing too. You learned that your worth has never depended upon another person's ability to recognize it. You discovered that peace grows strongest when it is rooted in purpose rather than circumstance. You began finding joy in ordinary moments again. You smiled more freely. You trusted more deeply. Not because every question had been answered, but because your spirit had become anchored in something greater than uncertainty. This transformation matters. Not only for your own journey, but for every relationship your future will hold. Love flourishes where peace already lives. Grace multiplies where humility remains. Understanding deepens where patience has been practiced. These are treasures you now carry. Never believe they were gained without purpose. Every lesson became part of your preparation. Every challenge refined your perspective. Every quiet victory strengthened your heart in ways no one else could measure. Sometimes people ask for miracles while overlooking the miracle quietly taking place within them. You have become stronger. You have become wiser. You have become gentler. These changes may seem invisible to the world, but heaven rejoices over them. The message waiting for you is connected to these very changes. It is not simply about hearing meaningful words. It is about receiving them with a heart that has learned compassion instead of impatience. Only then can their true beauty be understood. There is another truth I want you to carry with you today. Do not allow fear to invent endings that grace has never written. Fear often speaks first. It imagines closed doors. It predicts disappointment. It whispers that yesterday will always define tomorrow. Grace speaks differently. Grace reminds you that people can grow. Grace reminds you that healing is possible. Grace reminds you that hope is never foolish when it is rooted in wisdom. Hold tightly to that reminder. For the story unfolding before you is not built upon fear. It is built upon growth. Upon truth. Upon hearts that have slowly learned the value of honesty. Soon, something small will become significant. A moment that appears ordinary will quietly carry extraordinary meaning. A simple exchange may reveal how much has changed beneath the surface. You may not recognize its importance immediately. But later, when you look back, you will see that this was the moment the story truly began turning toward its next destination. That is how heaven often works. The greatest turning points rarely announce themselves with noise. They arrive quietly. They settle gently. And only afterward do people realize that everything changed from that moment forward. Still, there remains one final veil. One final understanding that neither heart has completely embraced. It is not hidden forever. It is simply waiting until both of you can receive it with gratitude instead of expectation. When that final truth comes into view, every unanswered question will begin finding its proper place. The waiting will make sense. The quiet seasons will reveal their purpose. The seemingly disconnected moments will become part of one beautiful picture. Until then, continue walking with peace. Continue choosing kindness even when it is unnoticed. Continue believing that genuine love is strengthened by truth, patience, and grace. For what is drawing near is not merely a message. It is the beginning of a conversation that has been quietly prepared through every lesson, every prayer, every season of growth, and every faithful step you have taken. And when that conversation finally begins, you will discover that heaven was never asking you to chase what was meant for you. It was asking you to become ready to receive it. The next chapter will reveal why that readiness changes everything. There is a gentle truth I have been leading you toward from the very beginning of this journey, and today you are ready to carry it a little farther. Not because you have uncovered every answer, but because your heart has learned something more valuable than certainty. It has learned to remain open while walking through the unknown. Many people believe that extraordinary moments arrive like thunder, impossible to ignore. Yet the moments that shape a lifetime often arrive like the first rays of morning. Quiet. Patient. Steady. They do not demand attention. They simply bring light until everything once hidden can finally be seen. This is where your story now stands. Not at an ending. Not even at the greatest revelation. But at the threshold of understanding. You have spent so much time asking, when? Yet heaven has gently been answering, become. Become more compassionate. Become more peaceful. Become more trusting. Become more grateful. Because the person you are becoming is just as important as the blessing you hope to receive. If you had received everything the moment you first desired it, your heart might have celebrated the gift but overlooked the lesson. Now the lesson lives within you. No one can take that away. The one whose heart has remained connected to yours has also been changing in ways that would have been difficult for you to imagine months ago. There was a time when they believed strength meant hiding emotion. Now they are discovering that true strength is found in honesty. There was a time when they believed silence would protect them. Now they understand that silence can sometimes become a wall that keeps peace from entering. There was a time when they feared vulnerability. Now they are beginning to realize that sincerity is never weakness. These realizations did not appear overnight. They were born from reflection. From quiet moments. From unexpected reminders. From seeing life through a perspective they never expected to gain. Sometimes a single memory returns without invitation. Not to create sadness, but to reveal meaning that was invisible before. Sometimes people revisit old conversations in their minds and suddenly hear compassion where they once heard ordinary words. Sometimes they remember a goodbye and finally understand what was truly being left unsaid. These moments have become part of their journey. They are no longer running from them. They are learning from them. And learning changes everything. You may not realize it, but your own quiet faithfulness has left a lasting impression. Not because you tried to convince anyone. Not because you demanded recognition. But because genuine kindness has a way of remaining in the memory long after louder voices have faded away. The world often celebrates what is immediate. Heaven celebrates what is enduring. A gentle heart. A faithful spirit. A peaceful response in difficult moments. These things possess a beauty that time cannot erase. You have carried them more faithfully than you realize. That is why I ask you again. Do not become discouraged by appearances. Do not assume that what you cannot yet see does not exist. Many beautiful things are already growing beneath the surface. Just as rivers continue flowing even when hidden beneath the earth, grace continues moving even when your eyes cannot follow its path. Trust that movement. Walk with it. Do not rush ahead of it. There is another lesson waiting for you. Love does not ask you to abandon your peace in order to prove your sincerity. Real love strengthens peace. It encourages growth. It inspires honesty. It creates space for both hearts to flourish instead of asking one heart to carry the entire weight. Remember this whenever uncertainty whispers to you. You were never created to live in constant fear of losing what is meant for you. You were created to live with confidence that grace is able to guide what belongs in your life. That confidence does not make you passive. It makes you steady. It allows you to smile even before every answer arrives. It allows you to continue living fully while trusting that heaven has not forgotten the promises written upon your heart. The message waiting ahead is becoming clearer. Every passing day removes another layer of uncertainty. Every quiet lesson prepares another piece of the path. Every act of patience strengthens the foundation beneath what is coming. There will soon come a moment that feels surprisingly ordinary. Nothing around you may appear dramatically different. The sky will still be the sky. The morning will still greet the earth. Life will continue its familiar rhythm. Yet within that ordinary moment, something extraordinary will quietly begin. You may notice a familiar feeling returning not with anxiety, but with peace. You may recognize that certain fears no longer hold the same power they once did. You may discover that your heart has become ready to receive what it once would have struggled to understand. That readiness is a blessing in itself. Do not overlook it. Many people spend their lives searching for signs while missing the transformation taking place within them. But you have been changing. The waiting has softened what once felt rigid. The unanswered questions have deepened your compassion. The quiet seasons have taught you to recognize beauty in places you once hurried past. Now you are able to hear with greater wisdom. To see with greater clarity. To love with greater grace. Still, there remains one final step before everything begins fitting together. There is one conversation that has not yet unfolded. One truth that has not yet been spoken aloud. One quiet moment that heaven has protected until the exact season when both hearts are prepared to receive it without fear, without pride, and without misunderstanding. When that moment arrives, you will realize that nothing was random. Not the waiting. Not the growth. Not even the silence. Every chapter has been gently guiding you toward a meeting of truth and grace. So continue walking in peace. Continue choosing hope over discouragement. Continue believing that every act of kindness plants seeds whose beauty may not be visible immediately but will blossom in their appointed season. For the story is drawing closer to its turning point. The message that has waited so patiently is nearer than ever before. And in the next chapter, the first words of that long-awaited message will finally begin to unfold, revealing why this moment was worth every season that came before.